we're doing the cake first, or I'm putting it together. So I'm going to read the assembly of the cake. And it says to assemble. Oh, you want to hear a little history of this cake?
Sure.
It was done during the war for the Brooklyn Navy Yard, when they had their blackouts in honor of the Brooklyn Navy Yard. A Jewish bakery in Brooklyn did this cake, and the Jewish style of the cake was no dairy products. It was made with water instead of milk. The pudding was made with water instead of milk. There was no butter in the cake. There was margarine, and the chocolate was unsweetened chocolate, because dark chocolate has a little bit of milk.
Hard. Well, yes, hard. It's so
Hard.
that you can eat
Right.
it with meat.
Right.
That's
You can eat it with meat. Right.
point.
So I made the cake with the water base and with the margarine, and I made it with this, and the difference was remarkable.
Tastes like
We're
everything
not
that
in
I
wartime.
grew up eating.
Well, it's not wartime. I don't mean the wartime thing, because it wasn't.
No.
It's just anything that's parve.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
tastes like
what-
what I grew up eating. It's
Yeah.
nothing.
And
it has
well,
no flavor.
Well, it's not that it didn't have any flavor. To me, the pudding tasted chalky. You know that term,
Yeah.
chalky? Because when you have cornstarch and you're thickening it with cornstarch, there's no creamy mouthfeel with water as opposed to the cream or the milk.
Right.
And I just said no. I don't have enough people that keep kosher that would have to eat like this. So I'm doing it
But we could eat like this. We just couldn't eat it with meat.
right. It was a dairy meal.
Right. As a dairy,
Right.
now it would be a dairy meat.
Right.
So you know.
So but I just didn't want to do it at all with the water
right.
stuff. So anyway, I have a dish here that I put 4 pieces of paper on, because this is a very messy cake to put together. The pudding has to chill for at least 4 hours. So when you're making this cake, you would do the pudding first. This cake should chill for a couple of hours, because you don't want to put it together when the cake is still warm, because of course the pudding would then really collapse. So, to assemble the cake, slice the cakes using a long serrated knife. Crumble 1 cake layer into small crumbs and set aside. Place 4 pieces of wax paper on a serving dish and layer the cakes and pudding using about 1 cup of pudding on each layer. Press down on the top cake to make the cake even. Spread the rest of the pudding over the top and sides of the cake. Sprinkle the crumbs over the top and sides of the cake. Press to adhere. Now, when you're putting this pudding on the outside of the cake, you're putting it on fairly thick, because if you don't, the crumbs won't stick. So it looks like I'm going to be putting a lot of pudding on the outside of the cake, and I am, but it's necessary.
So that's the frosting, the pudding,
The pudding is the frosting and the filling, correct.
and it's not, doesn't run.
It's not going to run, but you have to keep this chilled.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Absolutely
Yes,
chilled
and I
until you
know.
serve it. Now, this is not a good pudding to put in a pie, because this will not, when you cut it, it will not stay. There's not enough cornstarch in it to keep it stiff. So it's great to put in a cup and put whipped cream on it, but it's not for a pie. But it is delicious pudding. Okay, press to adhere. Now I'll go around again and make sure the crumbs are stuck as when we finish. Remove paper and chill until serving. Serve very small slices with ice cream or whipped cream. Serve 12. You could even get 16 pieces out of this. Now, when you say an 8-inch cake, that's a pretty small cake, but it is very, very rich. Very few people have eaten the whole piece when I give them a 12th. Very few, because it's rich. And if you have a problem with caffeine and you eat this late at night,
You'll be
you
up all
won't
night.
sleep. No, not a night, a month. You won't sleep for a month,
Wow.
because you've got coffee, you've got all this chocolate. Now, we're doing this with Dutch cocoa. Now, Dutch cocoa makes the cake very, very dark. Now, when we made the coconut cake, and I was telling you that the original recipe was 3 cups of flour and 3 cups of sugar, and I thought that was way too much sugar, because there was no ingredient that was going to offset the sweetness of that cake. Now, this cake is 1.5 cups of flour, and it's got 2 cups of sugar, but you've got 3/4 of a cup of cocoa. Now, have any of you ever tasted cocoa, just plain cocoa?
Bitter.
It is bitter like you can't imagine. Now, this cocoa we're using is Dutched, and that means they've added an alkali. The normal pH of cocoa is about 5.5. They've added an alkali to bring it up to 7. But even so, it is still very, very bitter. So you need that much sugar to offset the bitterness of the buttermilk, of the coffee, and of the cocoa. Now, in saying this about Dutch cocoa, if you ever have a recipe that does not call for Dutch cocoa, and you substitute the Dutch cocoa for regular cocoa, if there is baking soda in that recipe, the Dutch cocoa will not trigger it. Because when you have baking soda, you need an acid to trigger it, and a regular cocoa, of course, will do that. So remember, if you're going to buy Dutch cocoa, and I want to show you what the can looks like.
But buttermilk, if you use buttermilk in
Well,
it,
yeah,
that would.
well, depending on the recipe, if there's
Right.
buttermilk in it, yes, that will trigger it. We're using Penzeys Dutch cocoa. This is what the bag looks like. It comes in a 12-ounce bag. And this is the Hershey's. Now, I'm going to pass this can around. In really tiny letters. Can you see those itty-bitty letters there? I know, you can hardly see them. It says Dutch cocoa. That used to be a silver can. Why they did this, I have no idea. Because it is really hard to see that. I'm going to pass it around. Can you see it? Can you see it?
Yeah, but I would never, in the store, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a different container too.
Yeah, it was. It used to be
Yeah.
silver.
Yeah,
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Weird.
Why would
I use
you-
Penzeys.
let's call that company up.
Yeah.
And not only that, but when you're grabbing the
Wow.
cocoa to use it, if you had that in your cabinet
That's crazy.
and you would mistake it for the regular box,
Yeah.
because the regular
You
box.
have to put a mark or something on it.
Oh,
That is tiny.
That is.
I know. I mean, I had to look for about.
Yeah.
I mean, no one pointed it out to me, so I don't know, it took me
They
a
used
while.
to have a whole different company that actually had a little Dutch girl on
Yeah,
it.
that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I'm
Drost. Drost.
Yes.
That's
Drost.
what I'm
And
doing.
I
Oh,
remember
Drost.
buying that, but I don't see it
Then-
anymore.
No, I don't see
The
either.
Drost, D-R-O-S-T.
STE.
Yeah, and I have a can of Drost that I bought that I use for the Dutch cocoa when I buy it from Penzeys because
It has a nice seal.
it has a nice seal, and I keep my other cocoa in a different thing, and I have
Right,
a
and
label
it's
on it.
very visible.
Yeah, it's very visible. And the Hershey can was silver. It was very
Yeah,
visible. You
I
couldn't
remember
possibly
it.
mistake it.
Typical.
So I don't know why they did this, but anyway. Okay, so we're gonna put this cake together.
Betty Ann, one of those bottles are so pretty.
Oh, actually, this is a bottle that I got for my birthday in 2000, and it's all hand painted.
Wow.
So I saved it, and I had a little tag that says red wine vinegar. I keep my red wine vinegar on the cabinet in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty.
And this one, someone just gave me this,
It's
and this
very
is all
pretty.
hand painted. So Steph got me a cork that has a light in it,
Oh, wow.
or something like that, some creation, and you can use it as a little light. So I'm going to put it on the porch.
That's pretty.
Oh,
Because I
very
didn't want to throw the
nice.
bottle away. Can you
Yeah.
imagine how doing that?
No.
Pretty.
This is
That's
not a
beautiful.
decal. This is painted.
It's really pretty.
So this was a gift too. I can't even imagine how much this bottle must
My
cost.
dad's taken like really pretty bottles like that and put like, not tea, like little lights.
Fairy
lights.
lights?
Yeah,
Fairy
lights.
lights,
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
he's taken really pretty and made.
That'd be pretty.
Well, that's what it is. That's what this
Yeah,
thing is.
that's
But the
what
cork
he's-
is at the top, and then the lights go into the bottle.
Oh, pretty.
You can get those little shades that go on chandeliers. We have one home. and
Oh.
So I got it at a craft sale, something.
Oh, that's a good
That's
idea.
pretty, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But then you can just turn it on and off. It has a little
Right.
adjustment on it. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna
Can you
do.
imagine how many they had to paint?
Oh, I can't imagine. Well, I know the wine was expensive, so I don't know. But
Didn't the wine fellow last time have one of those
Yeah.
bottles?
Yeah,
Okay,
he did.
that's familiar.
okay, now I'm going to slice these layers. I wanted to show you. This is a very thin batter, so there's no doming. You can see how flat that is, which is good, of course. We always want to avoid doming at all costs. So I'm going to slice these. Now, if you can't slice it without some kind of a guide, you can put a book here or a stick or something. So you want to keep this knife perfectly flat and level. Okay? Most of the time, if you're going to slice a cake, what's going to happen is you're going to tip the knife downward and away from you. Now, if you do that, it's not the end of the world as long as you put the cake together the way you took it apart. If you turn it 180 degrees, then you're going to have both thick sides and both thin sides, and then this cake is going to tip. And it'll slide, because this is not the kind of a cake you want to bring somewhere. All right, so we're going to slice this. I'm going to go right across. Now, someone said you could use dental floss to do this. I can't even imagine trying to do this with dental floss. That would be just stupid.
cheesecake I've heard, but never.
You need the dental floss in your teeth after you eat this. That's what you
Hey,
need.
Steph?
Never. Always perfect.
Jeez.
That knife is awesome.
That's what it's for. Okay, I'm going to use this one. You can crumble that up.
Alright.
So when I take the cake apart, I'm going to take it apart so that I know I'm putting it exactly the way. I mean, this is perfectly even, but just in case it wasn't. All right. So now I'm going to put about a cup of pudding on each layer. And by the way, you can see how tight I press this
Yeah, so
because
that crust.
you get a really, really thick skin, and you don't want that.
Oh, that is pretty dense.
So now I took the top off, and I'm going to put it right back. Now the reason I crumbled that layer is because I don't want to frost any cut layers unless I have to. So obviously I wouldn't grind up this one because this has a beautiful top on it. Now, it's an 8-inch cake. If you don't have pans, don't try to switch this to 9 because it's going to be very difficult to cut a 9-inch cake if it's too thin.
Is that a standard size 8?
8, yeah, 8 and 9 are both standard. Okay, so this goes on the top, and I'm going to flatten that out to make sure that it's pretty flat. Okay, so then I'm going to take the rest of the pudding and put it on the top and the sides of the cake. Crumbs are all set? And of course I'm using an offset so I don't get my fingers in the soup here.
Is that the one from Pampered Chef?
No,
No?
this is just this is a Tico.
Oh,
This is a small offset. They have a big offset, but that's too unwieldy for something this
okay.
size. Yeah.
I feel like putting dark chocolate pudding. I don't like this cake when it's on.
Oh, can I ask a question about
Sure.
something? I mean, about your spinach, your roasted beet and salad.
Okay.
The dressing, the 2 dressings you make separately.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I was trying to figure out, they both have,
It's the amount, I know what you're gonna ask.
I know,
It's the
why
amount
don't
you're
you keep
using.
them separate?
Because it's the amount you're using. Use more than one of the other. If you put it all together, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Right, but would it be that different?
We definitely tried it.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I figured there was an argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, no, we definitely tried that because it seemed silly, you know,
Right.
but there was a reason for it for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
The lemon is probably.
'Cause I don't usually roll that way. Path of least resistance for me.
Oh, I
but-
put them after I made it. I have some left over and I combined the whole thing and it was fine. But I didn't know.
Well, it's just the proportions for the salad.
Yeah.
You don't want to have too much vinegar.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm gonna get the rest of this out of here. Now you can see, obviously, you have plenty of pudding, and you want to have it thick on the sides as well.
This is a chocolate.
Oh, this is.
I was just thinking the pudding probably would not make it to the cake.
Yeah. You could sneak a little bit of pudding on the side.
Yeah.
You could, because this is quite a bit of pudding. Okay, so now I'm going to take the crumbs. But you have to put a thickness of pudding, or else if you don't, you can't get the crumbs to stick. Because I'm going to press the crumbs in. All right, so now I'm going to cup my hand and go up from the bottom, just like you put nuts, the same technique. You put them in your hand and you start at the bottom and you go up to the top. Now the paper is very important because it's going to catch some of the crumbs, which I am going to recapture and use them again. This is a little on the messy side to do this, as you can tell, but it gets the job done.
Is that like traditional, or did you just add that little?
Oh no, this I didn't change anything.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even make up this recipe. There was a recipe without the milk. I mean, with the milk.
Right.
I didn't convert it.
Okay. with the crumbs and everything.
Oh, this is what it looks like, yeah, you gotta have the
This
crumbs.
reminds me of something you see in a diner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, I
Yeah.
remember, I guess, as you're making it, as little kids seeing it in the bakeries.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that.
It's a big thing in New York.
Yeah, big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
Oh, it is?
I've seen it,
Big.
yeah.
yeah.
And I never liked it, but I think it was, I didn't like the taste of the pudding.
See, that's what,
Now, as soon as I said, ugh,
see, you remember that,
Yeah.
because I don't really think it's the taste, I think it's the mouthfeel.
it was like,
It was chalky,
yeah.
it was
That's
chalky.
so funny, as soon as you said it before.
But well, wait till you taste this, because
I'm sure.
when I tasted them side by side,
Your favorite cake?
you know, I test these recipes over and over and over. And some of the times I didn't have any ice cream, so I just took heavy cream and just poured it on top of the cake. Because you can't eat this without cream or ice. You gotta have the ice cream or the cream. You just really, because the chocolate is too much.
Powerful.
So
Someone could eat it.
when you taste them side by side, it was even more noticeable with the chalkiness. So I just said, no, I'm not gonna do it with the water. Okay, so now I'm gonna press the crumbs in. Right, you see how this cake is shaking? Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, when this is chilled, even in 45 minutes or an hour, when I take this out of the fridge, I'm gonna do the same thing, and you'll see that it won't wiggle like that, because the cake layers soak up the pudding and make it stable, so when you cut it, it cuts beautifully. So we're gonna take out the paper. Now, one of my students called me up and she said, I can't get the paper out. I said, did you use 4 pieces? She said, no, I only used 1. I said, well, guess what? You're not gonna get it out. I don't know what else I can say some days. Okay. This goes in the fridge. Like I said, it's a little messy. All right, I'm gonna wash my hands before I put that in the fridge. And again, no odors. Oh, I have to tell you what one of my students did. Well, sometimes they do things I would never, ever think of doing. I mean, never. She made the coconut cream pie. Now that has to set for at least 4 hours.
The one you just put in.
No.
The coconut
Oh,
cream pie.
oh,
Go ahead, honey. Coconut cream pie. So it's warm when you put it in the fridge. Okay. Now she knows about something that's warm is going to soak up odors in her fridge. And the coconut cream pie is all dairy products. So she had one of those big Tupperware things to carry a pie in. It's a big plastic thing. It has a dome and it has a bottom on it. She put it in that, and she put that in the refrigerator. She said it didn't set. I said, it didn't set because you were keeping the cold away from the pie. That isn't something that you store something in to chill it. It's something to take it when you're going on a trip or something, to carry it. I said, you kept all the cold away from the pie. You could have let it sit in there for a day and it wouldn't have set.
Plus the condensation.
It says it says 4 hours, so that it's sitting in the fridge. So she did. She took it out. It was still soup. She said, oh, I didn't think of that. I said, well,
Now she knows.
now she knows. And I would never have thought of it. I would never have thought somebody would do something like that. And I always tell, if you want to speed it up a little bit with the chilling, you can put it on a rack, because you know all the refrigerator racks now are glass. And there's not as much circulation with a glass refrigerator. They used to have those racks, now you can't do that anymore. I said, put it on a rack and it'll help the air circulate a little bit better if you're in a little bit of a hurry and you want to chill it. But putting it
Well,
in
she
there,
could have just put it on the base of the thing
yeah,
and not cover it.
Yeah.
Right, like-
Well, she did.
She was
fingers out because it was warm,
Yeah.
and I guess she had something in her refrigerator that had some, an odor to it. I said, oh my God. So anyway, everybody has to learn the hard way. Unfortunately, that's the rule. Okay, let's look at this recipe for the fish. Now, this is a fish dish. We learned this when we were in Italy. It's called fish in crazy water. There's an Italian name for it. I don't know what it is, but one of my students who's very Italian knew what it was this morning. These are the aromatics in here.
This is the same one we've done last.
Pardon?
We've done this last.
We did this about 17 years ago.
Really? That long?
That's a long time ago.
Did we do it in the fish poacher? No?
No. We're poaching fish, but we're not doing it because when you poach, that's a very good question. When you poach fish, what you poach a fish in is usually chicken stock, wine, water, lemons, a little bit of aromatics, whatever. But you don't plan on using that liquid for anything.
Right.
This is going to be sauce.
Okay.
If you put that much water, it wouldn't be
Right.
it wouldn't be
Makes
sauce.
sense.
But this fish is poaching, but it's just a different technique. And plus, small pieces like this, you could do it in a fish poacher if you wanted to, but you wouldn't be able to get this flavor out of it.
Is it sea bass or bronzino? Because Italian
A bronzini is a small fish.
bronzino, yeah.
A bronzini is a small fish. They have them whole, and you get the whole
Right,
fish.
right.
Usually has the head on it. A sea bass is much bigger fish.
What is this Chilean sea bass? Do you know what kind?
We're using cod.
Oh, okay.
This is
Oh,
cod.
okay.
Yes.
I was thinking.
Actually, the cod is my first choice.
Okay.
It's a little bit more moist than the sea bass.
Okay.
Now we're going to cook this until the aromatics come out.
I can smell.
Yeah, it smells nice.
What type of chili pepper do you use?
Oh, I bought a bag of jalapenos to do the chili mango quesadilla. So there's probably 30 or 40 peppers in the bag when you buy them from Restaurant Depot. I love peppers. I love them. So I roasted 8 of them on top of the stove. Just roasted them, like I roast bell peppers. I love roasted peppers. Had a little piece of steak. I was going to have that for dinner. Well, they were so hot, I thought I was literally going to die. It was like the pepper burned the entire way down my throat. And I even put a little oil and a little salt and pepper and garlic powder on the pepper. And I peeled them and everything, and I took the skins out, the seeds out. Hot. I had never, ever, ever had hot jalapenos like that. It's 5. It's 5 on the scale. These were like a freaking 10. Well, they can be 5 is the lowest usually. They can get higher. So it's the same batch. So we're only using 1, and we're going to double this because they were just so hot. But you could use a red cherry pepper if you wanted to. Whatever chili pepper that you like, it doesn't matter. You could use a red jalapeno. Red jalapeno still is hot, it's just a different color. So whatever you like.
So should we not use a whole one or we should?
Well, when you cut a pepper, if your eyes start to water immediately, you know that's a really, really, really hot pepper. So if that happens, I wouldn't use a whole one. Because it's not supposed to be that hot. It's just supposed to be the flavor of the pepper.
No,
Not,
because I make guacamole with them all the time, and I'm not crazy.
I mean,
And would you use red or
Green.
green?
yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Jalapeno is not really a hot pepper.
No, it's only supposed to be 5. I mean, you still have to wear gloves when you do a jalapeno. You should always wear gloves when you do a jalapeno. But this was insane. Okay, so what we have in here, the oil, the garlic, the chili pepper, the celery, the onion, and the capers. Steph threw the parsley in already because I usually forget it. So she threw it in already. Okay, saute garlic, chili pepper, celery, onion, and capers in olive oil just until onion is translucent. Add the fish, the wine, the salt, and the pepper. It's looking good. I'm going to get some wine. I'm using a Sauvignon Blanc.
Is this something, can you eat this, Betty Ann, or no?
No,
No,
Oh,
no
sorry.
fish at all, or you?
no, I can't eat this. this would.
So you obviously can't test it.
Well, this is not my recipe. When we were in Italy, we got this recipe.
Oh, okay.
This is from our first trip to Amalfi.
And what temperature do you have that
I
on?
have it on as high as I can get it. And you notice I'm using a wide pan
For evaporation.
for evaporation because I want to evaporate this wine. And I've got it all the way up, high as I can get it.
Did you get your gas situation situated?
They're never going to connect me. They're never going to connect me. So I'm keeping the tanks.
All that.
I'm just so glad I didn't have the tanks taken away.
I know. Crazy.
These are cod loins.
Those look nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful fish.
Did you cut them up or is that?
No, they were
No, they
coming.
came that way.
Oh, wow. You don't typically see it that way. I like that.
Well, pardon?
No,
No, they're frozen.
Frozen?
This is Restaurant Depot. They have a lot of portion control items at Restaurant Depot because they need to do that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are those about? 4
Like
ounces?
4 ounces, yeah. That's the only way they have them is 4 ounces. You can do them a little bit bigger. If you get a whole one yourself, you cut it up, you can do it a little bit bigger.
Do they have fresh fish there? Or is it
Oh,
just-
gosh, yeah. But I can't get fresh fish and keep it from Saturday until
Yeah,
Wednesday.
no.
And the frozen fish is just wonderful. So I'm more than happy to buy this and
Yeah, no, for sure.
That Asian market is open.
Does it? It's good to know.
Somebody wants some salmon there and they said it was great.
Take a
When
ride.
you put
I go
down
to number one.
granulated garlic in a recipe. you
Is it
know
number one?
A friend of mine went to buy lobster there.
Oh, it's insane. The price.
She didn't buy, she ended up not buying it. She said they wanted a mortgage.
Where?
where was this?
I
Number
know
one
that's-
fish.
There is a problem with lobster.
It's
Oh.
huge.
Oh,
Okay.
fish has
Some-
gone crazy.
But the lobster especially.
Lobster.
I think it was
Lobster
like
on sale is
$100 a pound or something. It was
Oh,
something
yes.
outrageous.
I-
Well, she
when I
walked
went
out.
a month ago, it was
Lobster
like
is-
$16 a pound.
Yeah,
much?
But
It's
it recently went up because somebody said they went in to get lobster rolls and they got 3 lobster rolls and it was almost 80, like $70.
Yeah,
she said she walked out.
Well, the place in East Haven is charging $32 for a lobster roll.
Yeah.
What
Are you
place?
kidding me? Lobster Shack?
Oh, I don't know if it's Lobster Shack, but
Yeah, that's.
Cozy Beach Avenue?
Yeah, that's
And
right
the
near where I
only one I
live.
know who hasn't gone up
Holy
is,
cow.
oh, what's his name? Over at Lobster Pound in Guilford.
Oh,
on the
yeah.
Little Wharf
Oh,
there.
Yeah.
Cause he's a big, he supplies a lot of the lobster, so he's kept those priced to like about $18.
yeah, but you know, if he has to pay for them, then it's his.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got about 1/4 of an inch of liquid in here. Okay, so I'm gonna cover this. And we're gonna cook this for about,
So this is a double recipe you do?
I'm doing a double batch, right? Everything is doubled in here.
Yeah, she just was like, she called me on the way home. She said, I didn't buy anything. I was, she said I probably looked like an idiot. I was standing there with my mouth open.
Everything has gone
Yeah.
crazy. Chicken. Chicken has doubled in price.
Yeah.
These gloves that we buy,
Oh,
$20,
I know.
$67 a box.
A box. now.
$67 a
Be happy
box.
you're not building anything.
Yes.
I know.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah, lumber has gone sky high.
We bought we sell a lot of sheet metal, you know? We used to pay maybe I don't know, wholesale like $1.87. It's over $4 now.
That's ridiculous.
It's nuts.
A friend of mine who builds houses in North Haven said out of pocket, because he has signed contracts and he didn't put a clause in
Right.
on everything in that. Out of his pocket for materials is $75,000 materials in 3 houses between doors, windows, lumber, pipe, all
Everything.
of
I
that.
know. It's absolutely crazy. But it's trickled down the food. We see it in the produce. We see it in the meats. Ribeyes went up $8 a pound. Now, $8 a pound is a jump in one thing. That's nuts.
Bless you.
Bless.
God bless you. So I look at this. I look at the bills now, and when we go to the store and I shop, and I'm thinking, this is like telephone numbers. What we're doing here. I mean, it's
Yeah, that's
crazy.
ridiculous.
Absolutely insane. I don't know that it's going to get better. I mean, the meat hasn't come down. Usually, I mean, there's like in the summertime, we always expect the steaks to go up in the summer. That's traditional. It's happened since the beginning of time because people want to grill and they charge more. But it's a couple of bucks a pound. But at Christmas, ribeyes were up $8 bucks. I always get a few cases of ribeyes whenever I do a meat order. Ugh. Anyway, okay. So now let's look at the recipe for the cake. I'm going to make the pudding first.
Plant-based diet.
What'd you say?
They're forcing us to a plant-based
A
diet.
plant-based diet, yeah. Or starving. How about car
That's the
rental?
new diet.
How about what?
Car rental.
Oh my God, there's none.
Great.
It's beyond,
There's
Beyond.
no rentals.
beyond belief.
Well, now why is that gotten?
I heard it this morning.
Because
Oh,
there's no
They
used cars.
sold,
They sold all
they
the cars.
had to sell their cars in order to stay fluid.
It's
They
literally
sell their
cars.
fleets at the beginning of COVID.
Right.
They have no inventory, it's
Right.
supply and demand. Travel agents are saying, book your car before you book
Your flight.
plane tickets.
Yep.
I know, people are booking trucks.
I rented
Home
we
Depot.
just went to Florida, I rented a pickup truck
Yeah.
because it was, I went like this, the cheap, it was $100 a day for
Yeah.
like a Jetta. And I said, Kenny, we're not paying that much money. So a 4-door Toyota Tacoma, it was just the two of us. It was a little less, but for I think 4 or 5 days, it was about $470. It was still a lot of money,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's crazy.
My
That's a pickup
sisters-
truck.
Just came up to see my mom from Tennessee. The car rental from Hartford was more than her flight.
Yeah, ours too,
I just booked my
exactly.
flight
That's
to
absurd.
Arizona, my car rental out there for June. It's like $700 for 8 days.
Yeah, I'm paying that for Florida in July.
It's just like crazy.
Okay, let's go back to our pudding here.
Okay.
So we're going to do, this is 2 cups of half and half plus 1 cup of whole milk. That's what's in this container. In here is the sugar, the cornstarch, and the salt. Here's the chopped dark chocolate, and then I'm going to have some vanilla. I'm going to bring the bottle over so I don't forget to put it in. I don't know where it is, but I know it's here somewhere. Here's my little 2 teaspoon measure, whichever. Oh, there's my vanilla. All right, so we're all set. Now I'm going to put the milk and the cream into this pot, and I'm going to stir this all up until the sugar and the cornstarch are dissolved. You always, always, always have to dissolve cornstarch in cold liquid. Now, I know I have said that many, many, many times, but I don't recall that I have ever told you the story as to why I am so insistent upon saying that over and over again. Because when I was a kid, I must have been about 8 years old, my family loved icebox cake. Now, we used to make an icebox cake with graham crackers and bananas and vanilla pudding and chocolate pudding, and then we put cream on the top. So, I was making the pudding, and I used cocoa, and this is a recipe like this. And it took a long time. I was making the vanilla, then the chocolate. So I had this idea the next time I made it. I'm going to heat up the milk, and that should shorten the cooking time a little bit. I mean, I'm 8 years old, you know?
Yeah.
So, I heated up the milk in a little pot. I poured it into my sugar and cornstarch, and I had lumps as big as my head. So, that was very,
Impressionable.
yes, that's a good word, yes. So I never, ever, ever forgot it. So this is all dissolved now before I turn the heat on. So let me tell you what, so you think this is easy what I do. Sunday, when I do it, is my day of prep. All day Sunday I prep. So I had to chop the chocolate. Now, we need a lot of chocolate. So I always have to do 1 more than class. I always have to do 8 because I have to do 1 ahead of it. So that was 6 ounces of chocolate times 8 is 48. So that's 48 ounces. That's 3 pounds. So I had to chop up 3 pounds of chocolate, which took me for freaking ever. Plus the mess that I made. Anyway, cleaned up before I made the pudding. I cleaned up the whole mess of chopping up the chocolate. So I make the batch of pudding. Then I realized, wait a minute. I have to make 2 batches ahead. I forgot. I mean, I knew I had to make 2 batches ahead because I can't chill this pudding in 4 hours from morning class to afternoon class. So I gotta make 2 batches. So I gotta make 9 things of chocolate, not 8. So I had to get the chocolate out again, and I had to get out my little chocolate fork, and I had to chop the chocolate out again, and I had to clean up the mess again. Because when I do something, when I prep, I do it for everything. Because there's no sense in making that mess
Yeah.
9 times. That's just stupid.
And to buy it chopped, it's really more expensive. You can't.
You can't. You know, if you can, I don't know where.
Good quality anyway.
This is the accountable.
Well, what's the company that,
Oh, Baldwin, they sell chips.
Baldwin, yeah, no.
I don't know if they have
They
dark.
have wax in them.
No,
Here.
the Campbell, no.
No, not the combo, I'm talking about if you got them chopped.
Well, this is dark chocolate.
Right.
I don't even know if they make dark chocolate chips like this, to tell you the truth. They make semi-sweet, they make milk. I don't know if they make, this is 70%.
I thought, yeah, I have
thought
bought
they
that.
did.
I have
They
bought
do?
dark chocolate,
I-
yeah.
I-
'Cause that's all I eat. I have bought it in chips.
Oh, and chips? Oh, well then you could do that.
Yeah.
Now, it's important to chop it because if you just threw a hunk of chocolate in here,
You won't know.
it wouldn't melt. Yeah, it'd take a long time to melt. So I'm gonna wait until this bubbles. I'm gonna stir it constantly in a circular motion in this nice pan with this long handle so I can hold on to it so the pan doesn't spin. So Michael, how are you feeling? No? Still have your headache? He's had a headache since February. I never even got a period,
I usually got a lot of them
You know
too,
why?
right?
Did you take Emitrix for your headaches?
But no, name something for migraines, forgot what it was.
Relpax,
No.
sumatriptan is Emitrix.
Well, Botox is working for people now. And Botox has been a god. The girl does my pedicure. She said it's been a godsend. Because she did the Emitrix. I used to see her stab her leg with the Emitrix. Oh, God.
Ugh.
Yeah.
She would rather have
She
the
was
headache.
dying. She
No,
was
I don't.
dying.
Let me tell you, I the first
A Arimidex?
I was gonna ask you about that.
Arimidex?
I was
Awful.
Stay away from
Yeah, I
that
wouldn't
stuff.
take it, that's why
my
mine's
girlfriend today,
Mexican.
she would
Did
sit
you
there,
take
and
the
then my other
Mexican?
girlfriend came, and she was like, "Don't you have to stay on my
was on the
phone?" I said,
Arimidex
"You'll be fine." And I just
She
learned.
finally took me off it.
When I do it this side, I get a
Your
I had to get out of bed in the morning.
It wrecked my mother. Yeah, that's why I wouldn't
Yeah.
take it.
Terrible,
I refuse.
terrible.
Does more harm than good.
So you're waiting for it to bubble?
Yeah, it's got to boil. Takes about 7 minutes or so. Anybody have any stories? Interesting things to tell? Weddings? Babies? Anything? No? Nothing? Jeez. See, with a small class, it's less chit chat, you know, there's many people to talk, so it's.
Virtual graduation on Thursday, I get to watch it on a computer.
Oh, God. Where are they graduating from?
NYU, yeah.
I'm surprised they've opened up New York.
Well, but they had to make that decision like 2 months,
Oh, that's
3
true.
months more than that, you know,
That's
they-
true.
Is New York totally open?
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Connecticut is tomorrow.
Yeah.
New York's tomorrow, but they had to make that decision,
that
NYU
makes
usually
sense.
graduates at Yankee Stadium, so that
Yeah.
decision was made.
Yeah.
Makes
So
sense.
he's the graduation speaker and he, recorded it like a month ago.
Oh, wow.
That's wonderful.
Oh, Ben's making a speech?
Wow.
Isn't that nice?
For him.
Yeah.
I'm so proud.
So
I'm
I
so
was
proud.
like, well, yeah, I get to sit with him. I said,
That's
well,
a great
normally you don't
honor.
get to sit together, and normally your grandparents all over the country can't watch it. So that's the good part.
Yeah.
You know, I said,
What kind
but
was it about? Did
I,
he tell you?
I didn't
No?
even, I was a good mom. I did not,
Cry.
I didn't ask him. I just said,
Yeah.
like, I'll let you know next week.
Yeah, I would love to know.
Yeah, it's all being recorded.
That's
Yeah, it's
wonderful.
all, yeah, it is. It's like a nice story, but it's like so weird.
So can anybody be there?
anyone can watch it at any time. Once it's recorded on Thursday, they'll show it on Thursday, and then it's archived.
So, but you can't, like, they don't let one parent?
No, I asked if I could rent a room at NYU,
Yeah.
and he said no, so I rented I have a share of an apartment in the city, so I rented the library and a catering, like a lunch for 8 of his friends and their families. So at least it can sort of feel like,
Something.
Do you not wear a mask now? Are you comfortable? Or do you still?
he said everyone's already vaccinated there, so I'll be
Yeah.
fine in the room,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm fine.
That's the way I feel.
I'm like, I mean, that's, I said, as long as you know that everyone's been vaccinated.
Yeah. And if you know the people, you can trust them. I mean, I know
Yeah.
people are gonna lie about being
I
vaccinated at
know.
some point, but, I mean, of course, I wouldn't do that, but,
Well, in a store, you don't know who's in
I
there,
know.
so that's sort of where I
yeah.
guess
We're still wearing masks in the stores.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
I
that's,
will. Yeah.
yeah, because you
And
know
we're
who's
going
next
to,
to you
right,
and
we're
what's
going
going
to,
on.
yeah.
But in a small private.
What about Broadway? When Broadway opens, will you?
I have tickets for Thanksgiving, and I'll probably go back in October, I imagine.
I know, I can't wait to go.
Me
Yeah,
too.
I just,
I miss it.
I do too.
Terrible.
We went to see Barefoot in the Park last week at the Legacy Theater. If you get a chance, I don't know how much longer it's on, but it was very, very
where
good.
was that?
The Legacy Theater here in Branford, it's the old public house, they burned it
Oh,
up.
yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful. They did such a good job. The girl that played the mother of, I don't know if you know the play at all, Barefoot in the
Yeah.
Park, but the girl that played the mother did an outstanding job. She happens to be one of my students, and I texted her afterwards, and I said, you stole the show. And everybody that has seen it, a lot of my students have gone to see it because we want to support her. And they said the same thing, she really stole the show. It was just,
And it was indoors?
it was indoors, yeah. They were half capacity until, I think, tomorrow. They only could have 50 people in the building, and then now tomorrow they can have, I think, 100.
Did you wear your mask? Did you have to wear?
Yeah, oh, pardon?
Did you have to
Yeah,
wear?
we had to wear a mask, yeah, we had to wear a mask.
So I wonder what that'll happen after tomorrow.
I don't know, I think you still have to wear a mask, but they're gonna be able to have more people.
Every venue makes, if it's private,
Makes
they
their own
makes their own
decision.
decision.
Decisions, yeah. I didn't care about wearing a mask, that was fine with me, I
Yeah.
don't mind.
2 weddings that I'm doing, the card, they have to put a card in that says if you will only be admitted, it's 2 country clubs, if you are vaccinated. And I said, how are they gonna prove it? You have to come with proof of
Yeah,
vaccination.
I'm going to one Saturday night,
Wow.
like the New York border.
No, proof of
and you have to
vaccination.
bring your vaccination card.
Right.
We were told to bring our vaccination.
Right,
Which club in Connecticut or New York?
In New York.
in New York.
Okay, this is, I got a full boil here, so this is done. Taking it off the heat. I'm gonna put in the vanilla, and then I'm gonna put it into a clean glass bowl that I'm going to cover it with paper. Now, you know why you add the vanilla at the end, because vanilla breaks down with heat, and you don't wanna,
The alcohol.
you don't want to have alcohol in the vanilla to dissipate. All right, so now this is gonna go into a bowl. Now, you've gotta do this right away because the skin will form, and you don't want, imagine if I had a big skin and I was trying to do what I did. Well,
When I was
I
little,
don't
I
like it either.
hated it.
Me too.
well,
I used to peel it off.
Fill it up, yeah.
well, see, if you had to peel off the whole skin when you're doing something like this,
You're wasting a lot.
you're wasting a lot, yeah. I'm just gonna show you this pot, how there's not a speck stuck because I stir it the whole time. Whenever you're making pudding, it's constant stirring, you know that, I'm sure.
So I'm looking and smelling chocolate pudding, I mean, I'm looking at chocolate pudding and I'm smelling fish.
Oh.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, now look at that.
Oh, wow.
I did hear with the weddings, like they're asking for the vaccine cards, I know somebody had a wedding last weekend. And they said, once you're in though, people are not wearing masks.
But if,
Yeah.
that's because
Yeah.
you're showing your vaccination
Or
card.
a negative PCR.
Oh, no, this is vaccination card only.
Well, there are some people that couldn't get vaccinated for health, you know, like.
I went to one and it was at Aria in Connecticut in Prospect. And once we were in, nobody had their masks on. It was amazing. And this was in April.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was
Take the
so
whole thing.
surprised.
And everybody was vaccinated?
I think most of the people were, but I'm sure a lot of the
How
kids
could they?
weren't.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
Yeah,
that's
like
a shock.
Jamie had one shot, but a lot of his friends, no. I was really surprised.
It was a
Yeah.
wedding?
Yeah.
These are two
They
private
were gonna have
clubs,
400
and they have the
and
right
they
to do
only
what they
did
want.
everything
Right.
at 100.
To ask for the,
But I was really surprised.
Because one of the bridesmaids of this young woman is not vaccinated, and she had to say to her, the wedding's in August, either get vaccinated or I can't have you in the wedding.
Some of the girls didn't want to do it because they were pregnant or getting, like, that was sort of the age that
Yeah,
they were all, you know, there's so much stuff out there.
And I've been reading a lot that they're worried that it's gonna affect their fertility.
That's not.
But that's not true.
I know.
But I think it's hard to
Somebody
convince them.
starts
I know.
that.
I'm not sure what will happen. Maybe if they come with a,
I think the
A negative test.
Okay, can you see what I did? I touched it right to the top.
can I see?
See how I
Pretty
touched it right
tight.
to the top?
Yeah.
Very tight. Because any place it's not touching, it's gonna form a skin, and you do not want that to happen.
Okay.
Now remember, this retards the cooling a lot by doing this, but that's why it takes so long for this to cool. 4 hours is
Right.
the minimum you can do it the day
You're not
before.
letting them eat it.
Right, you're not letting heat out as fast as you possibly can. All right.
And I have to ask this question. The plastic wrap, it's on something hot, is it
It's okay.
leaching into it?
No,
Yes.
no, it's not that hot. It's not like you're baking it in the oven or
You can
something.
use wax paper if you want.
You can use wax paper. Yeah, the wax will melt and go into the pudding, but that's not going to hurt you either. No, the wax paper won't hurt you. The wax won't hurt you. If you eat a candle, you could eat a candle. Eat a candle. Go in one way and come out the same way. Your body can't break it down, so
I believe you.
yeah. All right, we're gonna make the cake. We're gonna have cake.
No, make the cake.
Oh, make the cake. Make the cake. Okay. I have to
How
make
much time is left on the fish?
3 minutes. So I'm gonna bring all my ingredients over here. I won't start making the cake until I get rid of this pot, so. But doing the mise en place, I don't know how you can cook without doing mise en place. I can't, I don't, I won't.
Yeah, you forget things.
You forget things. These are the eggs. I have the buttermilk and the coffee. I have the sugar.
And that's just like a cup of coffee.
It's a regular cup of coffee. I use Starbucks. And it's just a
Something a little
regular,
stronger.
ordinary cup of coffee. Not espresso, nothing fancy, just a regular cup of coffee. And then I have the cocoa. This is 3/4 of a cup of the Dutch cocoa. And then I have the dry ingredients, which is the flour, the salt, the baking soda, the baking powder, all stirred together. Now I do have to do one more thing. I have to grease the pan. And we're gonna grease it, we're gonna line it, we're gonna grease it, and we're gonna flour it. Because when you have a high sugar cake like this, and this is a high sugar cake. Remember, we've got more sugar than flour. That's a high sugar cake. This cake is gonna stick like you've never seen anything stick. So whenever you see a portion like this, you wanna make sure you grease and line.
So that's your concoction of
This is
flour
my
and
concoction. But I'm still, even though I'm using this, I'm still gonna flour.
flour.
I'm still gonna flour it again after I grease the paper.
And that's the Crisco butter and.
Crisco, no butter.
Flour.
Butter wouldn't hold up. Crisco, flour, and oil. 1 cup of Crisco, 1 cup of flour, a 1/2 cup of oil. The butter would get rancid. Plus, it would be too hard to spread it if you kept it in the fridge. Okay, so now I'm gonna put this paper in here. Grease the paper.
Fixer or grandson was studying France in kindergarten, so I taught him mise en place. He remembered, the teacher was very impressed.
That's cute.
That was a good thing to teach
What's
him.
the
too.
literal translation, do you know?
Everything in its place.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know. I only had 1 year of French, I don't remember. Bless you.
All right, so there's my greased pan. I'm gonna make sure that everything is covered. And then I'm gonna throw a little flour in there. I got a piece of paper here that's stuck. All right. weigh these before I put them in the oven to make sure they're exactly the same size. I don't want to have one layer bigger than the other, because we're using one of the layers, one of the 4 for the crumbs, and you don't want to have too many crumbs, and you don't want to have too few crumbs. It's done, Steph.
Michael, I have one suggestion for headaches. Peppermint oil, if you just smell it a little bit, it's a vasodilator, it opens up, you know, but it worked for me.
I'll try anything.
Yeah, and obviously it won't hurt you.
Do they know why you've been suffering so?
No. Not at all.
What have you been to, like a neurologist and a regular doctor?
Neurologist, the PA, cardiologist, chiropractor, proctologist,
And your
brain scan,
sleep apnea people.
yeah, the sleep apnea doctor.
Allergy, have you been tested for that?
I have allergies already, but they started before my allergies.
No, the allergy started before the headache.
Yeah.
No, the allergies started when I was a kid, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
And it
change
started in February.
anything in your environment, like, because I just went through this, I went to 5 doctors, I ended up in the hospital with dizziness, and I actually, if I was gonna suggest, I'd go see a naturopath, because he was the one that diagnosed me. Out of all those doctors, I saw 5 doctors.
I started with vertigo in February.
That's what I had.
That's what I had.
That's what I had violently, that I ended up in the hospital, but
And what do they?
he said viral. It was,
10 years ago, I had a virus that was vertigo.
yeah,
I didn't get out of bed for
Awful.
almost 8 days.
Yeah, that
it
was
was
me.
horrible.
Yeah.
Then it went away,
yeah,
and then now every once in a while,
yeah, it was awful,
vertigo's horrible.
awful, so, but you know what,
Now I've been good.
Yeah.
Don't laugh,
the
Sudafed.
patch,
The only thing that helps.
the patch, that's Wayleen patch.
Are you not gonna try the fish?
It's a horrible.
Why?
Because I don't feel well.
Oh.
I feel bad,
Yeah.
I know how that
Nothing
is.
worse than a headache.
I know how
It
that
affects your
feels.
entire, everything.
So I'm cooking this from 1 minute for the butter and the
Mm.
cocoa. Just want to tell you.
Oh my God.
Isn't it delicious?
I'm so excited, I love fish,
Doesn't
I
it
eat
smell
it all the
delicious?
time.
Yeah.
And it's quick.
What
Yeah.
naturopath did you go to?
He's in Hampton, he's
I know
amazing.
what I'm asking.
It's called Total Health, Josh Levitt. He's
And
amazing.
we're in Hamden.
He's
Which street?
off of Dixwell, behind the town hall.
Washington
There's a
Avenue.
street.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a
no, no,
street.
I know that street. Yes.
amazing.
Let me write his name down.
And his wife Amanda, they work together, they're amazing. I'm telling
Are
you,
they
I went.
chiropractors?
No, naturopaths.
Because there's a husband and wife on Dixwell that I heard is fabulous.
No, I'm sorry. It's
Josh
on like
Levitt?
Levitt, yeah. Levitt, and Amanda. They're off of an extension, like.
Yeah, I know exactly where it
Yeah,
is.
it's in a house, little
Yeah.
house. Amazing.
I'm making you I'm gonna
That's
do other ones.
all I
Okay,
went through.
so I have the cocoa in the pot. I cooked it for a minute. Now I'm going to add, in order, the buttermilk and the coffee. And I'm doing this so that I can cool this off. Because obviously, if I put the eggs in next, I would cook them, which would be very bad. So I'm going to stir this up. Then I'm going to put in the sugars. And I'm going to
So you
stir
make sure the coffee was cool. Oh.
Well, when you put the buttermilk
Really
into it,
good,
it's
yeah.
going to cool off, so it doesn't have to be.
This is amazing.
This is really good.
I eat a lot of fish.
Oh, wow.
So I'm stirring this up until the sugar is dissolved. Now, you know, this is not a cream style method, obviously.
Your
No.
stove isn't on, is it?
No, the stove hasn't been on. I pulled this off the pan, but I also turned the stove off.
be too thick just for this?
No, you can do halibut.
Thank you.
This is so good.
If you like halibut better than cod. Yeah,
So
the cod just stays together nice.
typically though, cod is cut differently, it's a little thinner, so when you cook it.
No, a loin is thick like this.
Yeah. Loin, okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's more cod.
It's amazing. I love it.
I use this like the black sauce.
Oh yeah, it's really good. So good.
Okay, I'm gonna put in the eggs. Now this is cold.
Cold.
Well, cool enough for the eggs.
Steph, will you eat this? No.
No can do.
My husband, it's delicious.
Loves it.
Yeah, Bill loves it.
This is
It
delicious.
is amazing.
So you wanna make a thing for Phyllis?
Yes.
Really reacts to my rosacea.
Fish
No,
does?
no, I meant for my allergy. I mean, for the headache.
Certain, well, maybe some of the tomatoes in your tomato. I can feel it. I can feel my nose getting hot.
What else does that?
Oh,
Wine, this wine,
for
red wine.
tomato sauce, anything acidic.
I'm finally giving up trying to treat mine.
She's been on dioxycycline for almost 2 months.
Oh wow.
It's been terrible.
I've
Absolutely.
turned into a vampire. If I go out into the sun, my skin just starts to burn and blister. It's ridiculous.
And really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Nuts. I said, this isn't worth it.
What are they
And
attributed
that's
to? Have
from
you-
the medication?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're on
Dioxycycline.
doxycycline, it's not, you can't go in the sun. And I was, just going outside, not like I'm
Right.
flying out or anything.
We haven't had that much sun either.
I know, it's ridiculous. I can't take a shower, I can't blow dry my hair.
No, it's ridiculous.
It's like there's fire coming out of the shower. It's crazy.
Have you gone to an allergist?
An allergist?
Yeah.
No, it's not an allergy. It's the medicine. It's the reaction to the medicine she's taking for the rosacea. So I told her, I said,
But what's
stop
the
taking the
reason for
medicine.
the
That's what I would do.
rosacea? That's my question.
Oh,
No.
I think it's something is triggering it.
I
If
think
you
there's
took the
an
trigger out,
inflammation.
I would.
Really?
I'm telling you, I know a lot about this stuff. I would definitely go
what
to
triggers yours?
an allergist
What?
for sure.
Just life in
And it could
general.
be something kind of random that's triggering it for you.
But I'm just like always that way. I'm just red.
You're not
Really?
right.
I know, I
I have
never.
a makeup on.
Listen, I'd rather see her wear makeup than have this horrible.
Yeah, I agree.
I know, I tried, I'm not gonna be able to do it.
And this is vaccine, that's an antibiotic.
Yeah,
Why would they, I don't get the correlation.
if you Google it, it's,
That's the treatment for it. It's gonna get you a better treatment.
well, I've been doing 2 years of laser and that hasn't helped, so there's
What,
nothing
like
else
the
to
blue
do.
laser, the red?
2 different kinds. Didn't work,
Makeup.
I know.
I have lots of resources. I didn't know you had
Yeah.
that.
I started this whole journey when my dad was sick because people kept hugging me all the time, like unexpectedly, and I would leave like makeup prints on their clothes, and it was like insane because I have to wear so much makeup. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I've got to do something about this. And so that's when I started going to the dermatology and having all the laser and all that kind of stuff, and it just hasn't worked. So.
Things you have to do.
Rushing around like before company comes, so when, by the time they get there, I'm bright red.
Yeah, mine doesn't really vacillate during the day. It is what it is. When I get out of the shower, it's definitely the worst. But it calms down, and then, but I'm just like red all the time.
I would have never known.
Oh yeah, I have a great CBD cream that goes on and
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Okay, so now the cake is done. I whisked in the flour. Is anybody paying attention? Michael, are you
Yes, I
paying
am.
attention to what I'm doing at all? No, I guess not, huh? All right, I'm gonna pour this into the pans. Now I wanna try to split this evenly, so I'm gonna weigh them. Because remember, I want to have the cake layers be as even as I possibly can.
Did you put flour in both of the bins? I don't
I
remember
did.
you doing that.
I only did one in front of you because I had done one.
Oh, okay.
Very sharp.
Michael, do you want me to pack one up for you, the fish to go take home? I mean, will you be able to, you gotta eat at some point, I would assume.
It's worth it. Delicious.
It is delicious.
It was so good.
Was that yes?
I know.
If you have something to put it in, that's fine.
Steph, was this like rice pulled out? What did you do with the rice?
It's just, jasmine rice.
But did you do chicken broth and butter and?
A little bit of butter at the end.
Okay.
Boiled it in salted water, just like pasta.
Wow.
And then put a little bit of butter in the end.
And
That was
yummy.
only 9 grams off,
Yeah.
which is about a teaspoon.
Wow.
Now, I made a 3-layer cake, and I tried doing this, and my cake didn't play each one. They're all right, the same company, everything, they're all like a little bit different.
The pans are different ways to cook.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Right, these pans are within a gram of each other, so. Okay, so these are going in the oven for about 35 minutes. And then we're gonna let them sit in the pan for 15 minutes on a rack, and then turn them out and let them cool completely.
Is this jasmine or basmati?
It's jasmine.
It was
Absolutely
amazing.
delicious.
It was amazing.
Oh, let's do the broccoli.
No, I'm excited to try that too.
I made your broccoli salad the other day.
Yeah.
Which one?
The one with the raisins and the
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
carrots. It's just like a picnic, though. It was something different. I really liked it.
Bradley and Long call it broccoli salad. Who does Bradley and Long?
I don't think she is.
Yeah, I did.
I had to
Just needs to change.
I
One of those getting much better.
know he's a lot of an asshole.
That'll be interesting.
I hope so.
Do we have one of these out or no? I just took this out.
Oh, okay, let's do
It's
this
tough.
one.
It's tough.
Okay, this broccoli that we're making, this was one of my husband's favorite things. It is just some spices, oil and vinegar, and you marinate the broccoli. I used to marinate it for a day or two, and he just absolutely went nuts over this. It was a nice thing to snack on before we had dinner. It's healthy. I do this with the kids in camp because we want to show them how broccoli can be delicious. Now these are the spices, and we were able to get a little bit of dill. So I'm going to add some dill to this as well. So did you like it?
Oh, absolutely delicious.
Good.
That's dried dill, not fresh.
This is dry dill, but I do have some fresh as well. Wait, Steph, where's the oil? Oh, I did run.
What do you need?
No, I see it. I didn't see the bottle over here.
So is it more of a salad or more of a side?
It's an appetizer.
It's an appetizer. You just pick on it.
Huh.
You wouldn't put it as a side for a meal. No, you wouldn't do that. All right, so I'm going to get some dill.
We made this years ago.
A long, long, long time ago. Yeah.
It's the first recipe for apps and either.
Oh, yeah.
The blue or the green for
I think it's the green one.
Green one.
Yeah. Because that recipe has accents in this.
Oh, right, right.
So you know you're going way back, right?
It's a Bogo.
Yeah,
Oh, Bovril,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, but you can get Bovril again though.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, now the mad cow disease is over, you can get Bovril again, yeah.
Isn't accent MSG though?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think they make it anymore.
they don't.
Nice fusion.
See, when we had the food labeling laws, everything changed, everything changed. Everything. Because people knew what they were eating now before you didn't. I mean, it was as simple as that.
Yeah.
And the food companies wanted it that way.
Right, they can sneak whatever they want in
Yeah.
there.
I remember when she was little, there was an ad on TV with the Campbell kids, and it was noodles, Campbell's noodle soup. And they were these two cute little Campbell kids, and she saw the ad and she wanted me to buy Campbell's noodle soup. So I went to the store and I picked up a can of Campbell's noodle soup, put it on the counter, and my father looked at me and he says, "You're not giving this to my granddaughter." This was
Loaded with salt.
yeah. He said, "This is too salty." He said, "You know how to make chicken soup?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You're not." And he wouldn't let me buy it. He wouldn't let me have it. He said, "No, you're not giving this to my granddaughter." And I said, "Okay."
Smart man.
Yeah. I don't know how he knew there was so much salt in it because this is 1966. Way, way, way before anything started coming out. Yeah, maybe. I'd never had. No, I don't think
How
so.
about Lipton soup? Remember the little packet?
Oh,
God.
No, that was
All
that
the
was
things that
deadly.
were up on it.
Or what was that dip, the Lipton onion soup?
Oh, yeah.
And the meatballs
Yeah.
and the brick.
I'm sorry, but I would eat that if you put that in front of me. The Lipton onion soup.
Yeah, with the
So
sour
onion
cream.
dip.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so good.
Get up on that.
I know, it's bad, bad, bad.
Cheese whiz.
Pardon?
Cheese whiz. I'm thinking about all the things we
Cheese whiz. Oh, I gotta tell you a story. I'm watching Facebook, and I see this guy come on, and it's one of those chef things, like Chef Club or something, I don't know what it was. Anyway, he's got 4 large packages of McDonald's French fries, which he proceeds to dump out onto a tray, and he chops them up. He takes a large jar cheese whiz, heats it up, pours it onto the French fries, and mixes them all up. He takes the French fries that are now all sticky together, and he takes a cylinder. The cylinder is about this high, and it's about this big around. It's hollow, hollow cylinder. Must have been plastic, I guess. I don't know what it was made out of, but I think it was plastic. And he puts the French fries